Here are 2 effective ways to increase cash flow without having to work harder or work more. Now, technically, I'm going to give you 3 things, but this first one I feel like is a cop-out, and I've just seen it abused too many times from a consultant sharing this as a most effective way in which you can do things. In fact, when I owned a gym, there was a popular company at the time. I think they're still pretty big, and they helped gyms increase their revenue in their business by helping them do challenges and consulting with them. And you paid them an exorbitant fee for this answer. Hey, now that you're paying us, here's how we're going to help you increase revenue. Raise your prices. Yeah, okay. That's why I'm not including it as one of the most effective lists. For sure. If you raise your prices, that will allow you to increase your cash flow without having to work harder or work more. I actually don't believe that raising prices is an answer for every business everywhere. In fact, I've been part of multiple mastermind mentorship groups over my career. And I've seen in some of those organizations, so it means more than one, at least a handful of these organizations, they keep raising their prices because they're like, hey, we keep providing a ton of value for people. Well, I definitely have seen as a participant in these that the number of people participating decreased as they kept raising their prices, and their retention of people also decreased because business owners want a return. They want a return on the money they're paying. They want an exchange of value. So raising prices, yep, it could be a thing. Depending on your industry, chances are you are underpriced. But it's not something that I feel like is just a straight up, hey, here you go, just raise your prices. Well, no kidding. Doesn't mean it's the right move for you to make in your business. So here is an actual effective thing that I think you should do. When you look at your expenses, oftentimes, if you've been dealing with an accountant, they want you to categorize your expenses into variable or fixed expenses because that's how accountants look at numbers. Accountants who aren't running your business, that's how they look at the numbers. I don't think that's as necessary as categorizing expenses, whether that's productive or unproductive. I don't care if it's a variable or a fixed expense. I care, is this good for my business or is this doing nothing for my business? And in fact, I really like the way Keith Cunningham, he says, when you look at your expenses, does it help you get clients or does it help you keep clients? Get clients or keep clients? Because ultimately, if it's not helping you do either of those 2 things, then why on earth do you have that expense? An effective way to improve cash flow is to actually go through your expenses and identify, is this productive or unproductive? Does it help me get clients or keep clients? And if you haven't done that exercise in a while or ever before, my experience tells me you are going to be able to identify at least 10% of your expenses that you can cut right now. Your business will not miss a beat when you stop paying for those expenses. So that's an effective way to do it. The second thing is not necessarily raise prices. We already talked about that, but we do see a lot of the people we help with the 3.3 system and the 3.3 rule. We see them doing a lot of free work. So again, I'm not necessarily saying raise prices, but I am saying get paid for the work that you're doing. In the accounting world, we call this scope creep. It's the idea that a client comes to you with a problem, you solve that problem for them, or you tell them, I can solve that problem for you in this way, here's the price. And then they come in and say, here's some other problems I kind of need your help with. And sometimes we don't stop long enough to realize that that's actually outside of what we already agreed on. Therefore, the price that's being paid for the additional work should actually be charged as opposed to just thinking that it's something that you originally agreed to in your contract. Most of the time it's not. So just, again, it's not necessarily raising prices, but it is making sure you're getting paid for all the work that you're doing and not just doing free work for the sake of free work. Those are 2 really effective ways we've seen clients increase their cash flow without necessarily needing to add more clients, which is going to require them to work more. And I'll throw in a bonus for you, but I feel like you need to do at least the expense analysis to see if you can cut any expenses first. With that freed up cash that you have, in my experience, most people who are most worried about improving cash flow have debt of some sort. And so when we free up some of these expenses, we need to take some of that extra cash we just freed up and put it towards paying down debt. That is a very efficient way to increase cash flow, because if you sit back and look at all your expenses, and if you have debt, how much is your annual interest expense? That is literally you paying money for the sake of using someone's money at one point. I'm a big fan of using my own money. Also, bonus tip, I actually have a bank account that I call my internal line of credit. This is kind of the idea of like a 3 to 6 month cash reserve. I also use it if there's a scenario where I might need to borrow money. I'd rather borrow it from myself and pay back my bank account. That way I don't have to pay interest expense, because interest expense, again, it's money that's not necessarily helping you get clients or keep clients. It may have when you borrowed it, but for sure now that you're just paying off the loan, it's not. All right, there you go. 2 effective ways to improve cash flow, and I threw in a couple bonuses. Remember, cash flow is super important to what we're trying to accomplish here. We want to help business owners and their team members not work nonstop hours. We want to have everyone enjoy work-life harmony. And healthy cash flow is a super important component of that, because with healthy cash flow, you can be home at time for dinner with your family. With healthy cash flow, you can afford to go places and do experiences with your family and build memories. With healthy cash flow, you don't have a temptation to work nonstop hours, because there's enough there that you can follow the 3.3 rule without the temptation to not follow it, which is when you're working, work very focused and efficiently and hard, but no longer than 3 hours, and then you fall out with a break. So if you want to dive deeper into the 3.3 rule and the 3.3 system, which is cash flow stuff I've been talking about, is part of the 3.3 system, check out my book, The 3.3 Rule. The link is in the description below. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you on the next one.